It actually, your volume could be a little lower, Mary.
Tell me when.
That's probably good.
Yeah? Okay. I can adjust if you need to. Okay.
That's good. All right, here we go. I'm gonna open the gates. Have fun, Alisha. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Alisha. And I've got record on.
Now I'm gonna start recording. Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Oh, Mary, can you make my other accounts a co-host?
Can I what? Oh, yes.
Welcome, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you. George. Hi. Good to see you. Welcome. Linda. Hi.
Welcome back to
Vilma.
him.
So good to see Swiss up
Back
late
to
at
you.
night. Yay. Susan. Ann. Michael, welcome. Timothy. How you doing? Welcome.
Hi, Julia.
Thanks for joining
Good
us.
to see you. But we're just waiting for people to log in. So if you feel like drumming, go ahead and drum. If you feel like moving, go ahead and move. And we'll just kind of warm up our bodies a little bit. So we can start with, if you're drumming, hold down the groove. If you want to move with us, I'll lead a little bit of movement. We'll just start with arms, and we're going to reach up to the sound of the rhythm. Slow at first, and then we'll speed it up. Maybe give a high five to the person in the screen above you. I always think of the Brady Bunch when I see all these squares of people's faces here. And we'll go twice as fast. If you can, if you feel like it. Four, three, two, one, side to side, side to side. You can add a clap in there if you want, like you're giving a high five to the person next to you, if it lines up with the beat. Waking up our brains, crossing the midline. If you feel like going twice as fast, go ahead and twice as fast for a little bit of a workout for your arms. 4, 3, 2, 1. We're gonna tap on our laps or on your drum if you prefer. And then we're gonna crisscross on our laps. So right over left over right, right, left, right, left, right, left. If you feel like going twice as fast, go ahead and challenge yourself to do that, like the Charleston, that old-timey dance. Four, three, two, one. I invite you to freestyle any kind of move you want. Anything that feels good. If you want to get up and stand up, you can do that too. Don't forget to add a smile to your face. Smile at somebody through the screen. Mary, I'm going to turn it over to you to end it however you like. If you think you want to wait for more people, we can do that too. Or if you're ready to go, then go ahead and do what you got to do.
Alrighty, that sounds good. Okay, I like this movement thing we got going. We'll give one more minute. We usually give everybody to 4:05. I know Marcos is still trying to get on. Well, he's coming on. I just texted him because he was here first. Okay, good. Get ready. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. And we let it go. Great warm up, Alisha. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. We're so happy that you're here. We're just starting a new season. Last week was the kickoff with Irene and Laura. We're so happy that you're joining us for our new season of Music Alive. And we've now opened it up to intergenerational communities. And we're really excited to have Alisha here. So, hey, Mike, my co-host Mike, Michael Smith, and Mike Deaton. Mike Deaton, would you like to give us our little tech overview or anything else you want to do?
Absolutely. Just a couple quick reminders about muting and unmuting. So generally we all have our mics closed, which is, I like a much better way of saying it. And so I don't know if Alicia's gonna have time or ask us anything, but knowing how to mute and unmute is good. And so that's usually in the bottom left. And sometimes that option goes away, so you have to touch your screen again or move your cursor down there to get it to come back. And it's good to know how to rename if you don't. And so the easiest way, excuse the traffic noise there, the easiest way is in the small square or rectangle where you see your face. If you click in the upper right there, you'll see 3 little dots. And in the overflow menu, you'll be able to rename yourself.
You can add where you're from, too, because we've got an international group. It's always fun to see where everybody's coming in from after your name.
Exactly. And then remembering that you're always in control of your own experience. And so in Zoom, a big part of that is our view. So usually in the upper right of your device, you'll see the view button, and you can change your view either between gallery view or speaker view. So it's nice to be able to see everybody for part of the time, and it's also nice to be able to see just the speaker. So if we spotlight somebody at some point, it will switch you over to speaker view, but you can always change that by going back to gallery view by clicking in the upper right of your master Zoom screen. On some devices, you swipe. On an iPad or an iPhone, you swipe to change your view, and you won't be able to see everybody at once, but you can change between the 2 views. Thanks for being here.
Okay, great. So, Alisha, I had to practice a little bit her last name, Ramcharitar. Yeah, did I get that right, Alisha? She's a global bridge between, I'm going to read a little bit of her bio because it's so cool, between West African drum and dance, team building, and wellness programs. And we're so excited to have her. She's the founder of Just Add Rhythm. She leads interactive, innovative programs in the Jacksonville, Florida area, throughout Florida and Georgia. She's a REMO endorsed facilitator and health rhythms trained facilitator. And you've also worked, you've got a senior accreditation in drum beat, working at risk. Is that Simon Faulkner's, right? Is that Simon, Alisha? Yeah, from Australia. So you all, those of you that have been with us, know Simon as well. And she's had the opportunity to drum with a variety of clients, some amazing PGA Tour, Mayo Clinic, Brooks Rehabilitation, and many other organizations. And we found out she had her roots at Berklee College. Oh, here comes Lulu. Yay! Berklee College of Music and a master's degree from Tufts. Alisha, we are so happy to have you, and so much more. So I've really enjoyed getting to know her. For the first year, I think I knew everybody on the program that we presented. So yay, I'm getting to meet new friends now, and I'm really excited about that, new inspirations. So hey, Alisha, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we are so happy to have you, and we are yours.
Great. Thank you, Mary. Thanks so much for having me here, and thanks to Mike for helping with all of the tech stuff. So I see a lot of faces that I don't think I know, so it'll be really cool to connect with all of you today. I'm going to start off by sharing my screen. Mary, can I stop? It looks like you're still sharing computer sound. Can I share my screen?
Yes, let me see. How do I get back there?
I think I can override you. Just wanted to ask permission first.
Okay, try it again and see if I got myself out of there. There we go.
I think we got it.
You can override anytime.
Okay, cool. So I do have a bit of a presentation here for you, and we will get hands-on a little bit as well. So first things first, we just wanted to go over a little bit of our objectives today. which are the first thing we're going to be discussing some of the challenges that you may have experienced with facilitating virtual programs, not necessarily for youth, but that's what we're focusing on today. We'll learn a couple of new virtual activities for youth populations, and again, you may be able to apply these to some of the other populations that you might be working with. And then view a couple sample documents that you can utilize with your own clients or groups. So we'll do a screen share of some of those documents a little bit later on. And then if you would like access to the editable versions of those documents, I'll tell you how you can get that as well. So if you don't know me or not familiar with my background, here's a little bit of background on me. I am the founder and owner of Just Add Rhythm, and by my very rough estimation, I think we've served at least 100,000 people, probably more at this point, since 2012 when we formed in South Florida. My master's degree is in something called ethnomusicology, and I did do field research in Senegal, West Africa, back in 2006, and then for a couple weeks again in 2007. So that's a photo of one of my Sabar dance lessons in Dakar, Senegal, back in 2006. And a bunch of kids from the park there were just looking on in amusement at my attempts to dance like they do, because they were all way better than me. Very humbling experience, but very fun too, and I ended up getting really, really into it. So much so that I started performing in different West African ensembles in Boston, in Pittsburgh, and then in Miami. Learning as much about the culture as I could while still understanding that I was and am an outsider, but being welcomed by all of the different performing ensembles, by all of the people that were from Africa and the people that danced and performed in the groups. So that was a wonderful experience as well. Yes, I'm endorsed through Remo. They've been a great partner throughout the years, and I really love the gear that they've come up with for facilitators like us that really need stuff that sounds good, but is also really easy to schlep and easy to clean. So love them for that. And yes, I did do the Drumbeat Senior Accreditation back when Simon was leading those programs. I know he has since moved on to a new program that he facilitates and that he's done research for. But I did do the Drumbeat and the health rhythms. So what we're going to do is a little bit of an icebreaker called Give a Little, and I'm going to stop the share so that we can all be back in gallery view and see a little bit of each other here. Now, if you have a drum or a percussion instrument, I encourage you to utilize it. We will stay muted. Actually, you know what? Let's unmute ourselves, because I don't think it matters whether or not we're in rhythm for this activity. So if you want to unmute yourself, go ahead and unmute yourself, and we can hear each other. And this is a great icebreaker to work with kids or with adults. And I do this in person, and it's fun to do it online too, because it can be a very visual experience. So the first thing we're going to do is when I say give a little to yourself, you're going to play 3 times on your own drum. And again, it doesn't matter if we're in rhythm together or not, but you're just going to go boom, boom, boom on your drum. All right, so let's try that out. Give a little to yourself. 1. Good. Ooh, I love hearing all the different drum sounds. Next, we're going to give a little to our neighbors. Now, if your neighbors are sitting next to you, you will obviously be able to play their drums. But since they're not, you're going to reach over to one of your neighbors and pretend to play their drum. So I've got Mike on my right side here. I've got Mary on my left side. I'm going to pretend to play Mike's instrument. I'm going to go boom, boom, boom. So give a little to your neighbor. 1, 2, 3. And if you want to accent that with your own drum, just to kind of keep the momentum going, you can do that too. Give a little to your neighbor. 1. Give some to your other neighbor. Reach over. 1. Nice. And now we're going to give some to the group. So you're going to do one big hit on your drum, and then we're going to say yeah, and throw your hands up and shout yeah as loud as you can. So give some to the whole group. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, nice. I heard some enthusiastic yes. So let's try it again from the top. From the top, give a little to yourself. 1. Give a little to your neighbor. 1, 2, 3. Give some to your other neighbor. 1, 2, 3. And give some to the group. Yeah! Nice. So next what we do is then we try to connect these to metaphors. If you're working with kids, if you're working with adults, it gives you a really good chance to go beyond the actual rhythm exercise. So when I say give a little to yourself, what are some things that you all might want to give to yourselves? At this point, we can all mute we can close our mics again. And then if you want to I muted myself. You can use the hand raise emoji. But what are some things that you can give to yourself, either tangible or intangible gifts to give yourself? Who wants to volunteer something? Marcus, I think, has one to say. You can unmute. Go ahead, Marcus.
Love.
Love. We can give ourselves love. Absolutely. Absolutely. Lulu's giving the thumbs up. What are some other things we can give to ourselves? Lulu, I think, has one as well. Go ahead, Lulu.
Time.
Time. Yes, give ourselves the gift of time, and with that, patience sometimes as well. Anything else that we can give to ourselves that you can think of? Susan Cornwall.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Yeah, that's part of patience too as well, I think. Forgiveness. Awesome. Let's do one more. Michael Smith.
Generosity.
Generosity. Oh, those are all wonderful things. So some really great things we can give to ourselves. When you're working with kids, you might not get some answers quite as complex as that. So you can always volunteer a few things if kids are feeling a little bit shy about maybe what the answer should be. But a lot of kids will stick with tangible things, and they'll say things like, you can give yourself food. You can give yourself money. I hear money all the time. Kids want to give themselves money, so you can try to create metaphors and messages around that. But food is one of them. Sometimes they'll say what their favorite foods are, and they like to give themselves that. And you can say, yes, you can give yourself nourishment. You can take care of your body and give it what it needs and sometimes what it wants. On that note, what are some things we can give to our neighbors? Tangible or intangible items we can give to our neighbors to show our support and our care? Go ahead and raise your hands or unmute yourself if you have something that you want to share.
Listening.
Listening to each other. Absolutely. We can show them that we're listening. Susan's got the hand clap emoji there, I think. What else?
Our time.
Our time. You can give of your time to your neighbors. Yeah. Anything else? Mike?
Kindness.
Kindness. Yes. And the kids will say that one too. That's one of the simplest, most profound ones that we can give to our neighbors. Anything else that you want to share? Linda Mack.
Understanding.
Understanding, yes. Excellent. So we've got things we can give to ourselves. We have things we can give to our neighbors. Let's think about this group that we have right here, right now in front of us, this virtual group. What can we give to each other? Some of these answers might be the same, by the way, and that's okay. What can we give each other? Ang, I'm not sure how to say your name. Is it Ang?
Ange.
Oh, Ange. Oh my gosh, Ange. My grandma's name was Ange, and I'm not even looking at the way it's being spelled. Ange, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm trying to remember what
You forgot because I said your name wrong.
She threw you off base.
What was the question again?
What are some things that we can give to each other here in our group?
Oh, yes, I know what it was. Smiles.
Smile. Oh, we did that, right? By me totally butchering your name.
worked.
Thinking it was like a very interesting name that I'd never heard before. And yes, thank you. What else can we give to our group? Anybody else have any ideas?
Ange gives all every week that he's here. His best smile and everything else.
Oh, wonderful. So you're a regular.
He is.
Awesome. Anything else that we can give to each other in our group right here?
Respect.
Respect. Yes, absolutely. Anything else that you feel like sharing? What was that, Marianne?
Musicality.
Musicality.
The word
Yeah.
musicality, yeah.
Yeah, we can share that with one another. Perfect. So, Lulu, let's do one more.
Ideas.
Ideas, our ideas. We can share those, certainly. So let's go through the activity one more time and just remember, keep in mind all of those things that we give to ourselves and that we give to each other and we give to our group while we're here together. Let's try it one more time, this time hopefully with a little bit more feeling. All right, give a little to yourself. 1, 2, 3. Give a little to your neighbor. 1. Give some to your other neighbor. 1, 2, 3. And give some to the whole group. Yeah. Nice. One other variation of giving some to the group might be that you actually want to give some to the camera. Give a little bit of high fives or love to the camera as well, and connecting that way. So connecting not only with people this way, and this way, but that way as well. Lots of different dimensions to connect on. Awesome. Okay. So if you all can hear my background noise, I've got my son in the background giggling and shrieking up a storm. That might be coming through on my sound a little bit.
It's all good.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the challenges of virtual facilitation. Again, these can apply to more than just kids programs. The location is one that I have found very challenging, especially for kids programs, because there's so many different ways it's being set up throughout the year, and as things open back up again in the middle of lockdown when kids still needed to be someplace besides home, they could be participating in so many different ways. So in some cases, all of the students are participating in their own homes. And I've done many sessions, particularly with the Miami libraries. They're still doing everything virtual right now. So the kids are all at home, logging in on their own individual devices. With things like Boys and Girls Clubs we've done where they're all open and the kids are all in a gym or a cafeteria or a rec room, and they're all participating together and they're looking at one device that might be projected onto a screen. So there's different challenges associated with how and where are the people participating from, and just kind of getting as much information from your client or from whomever it is you're booking with before you log in, essentially, to hopefully mitigate some of those challenges and to just get as much of that information. That's going to be really helpful for you. If you know everyone's logging in from home, then you can give the spiel at the top of the session about making sure everybody's muted, making sure their cameras are turned on, encouraging them to turn on their cameras when possible while still trying to engage the people that they might not be able to turn on their cameras. In some cases, if you've got kids at home and there's like a parent there with a baby and a toddler and the baby's crying, they might have to have their camera off. They might have to stay muted. And then you can give them a way to say you can participate with the chat. You know, mom can type something in the chat bar, or you can type something in the chat bar. You can still unmute yourself and share, ask questions, or answer questions. Giving them ways to participate, giving them options depending on how and where they're logging in from. The second challenge that I've experienced is the whole log in and wait. So setting expectations with the client right up front, and we will talk a little bit about this in the tips for the successful virtual event a little bit later on. But that's really tough, because sometimes you log in and you'll be like, okay, I'm going to be on the call 15 minutes ahead of time. We're going to do a sound check. You're going to make sure that you can log in and that we can see your participants, or, you know, angle the camera before they arrive. Or you might log in and wait and be like, is anybody going to show up from their house? And we've done library programs where maybe there was only like 3 people, but like 30 people signed up. So how to get as much information again about how many people the client expects to be on the call, and then have a backup plan if you do only have those 3 people, how to make it still meaningful for them and maybe scale down the intensity of the activities that you had planned. The third challenge is facilitating blindly. So again, encouraging people to enable their video when they can, because that encourages trust and connection and enhances the participant's experience. If you've got 5 people on a call and 3 people are muted and they have their cameras off, you don't know if they're there. You don't know if they're clipping their toenails. You don't know if they're engaged and clapping along and having a great time. So again, giving them those alternate ways of participating, being as accommodating as possible, just as we would in a real circle. If somebody came to the circle and they had a visual impairment, or they had a hearing impairment of some sort, or a mobility impairment, still trying to make it as accessible as possible and just offering those options for people, letting them participate in the way that's most meaningful to them, in the way that they are able to participate. Is there any questions at this point about anybody want to share any challenges they've had along these lines that you have questions or you want to commiserate or anything that you think would be helpful for other people to know before we move on to the next activity?
I have to say, I agree with you, Alicia, on the presenting at conferences. I had one that it was a participatory experience. I said, oh, fine, found sound, and I had probably 60 people sign on and 2 people turned on their cameras.
Oh man!
And so I recorded it. I'm this is participatory. And the second time I was prepared, so I had Lulu. I think the other trick is have a co-partner, because I did have someone that was helping to present and was representing me, and they were there, holding down the room, but they were not particularly ready to be engaged. So always, if you do a conference or you have something where you're not quite sure, have a partner, so at least you've got one other person that can do it and you can model.
That's a good idea. Another option, if you can't get somebody else that's like a friend or a colleague or whatever on with you, get an advocate at the organization and just be like, okay, ahead of time, let people know that these are the expectations. Even if you're presenting for free for exposure or whatever, a lot of conferences that just a breakout session, set the expectations ahead of time and tell the conference organizer to send these few tips ahead of time and let people know. Or if the conference organizer has a monitor in the virtual room with you, the monitor can enable their camera and they can encourage people to do the same and say like, look, I'm one of you and I'm here and you can see my face and I'm participating, and that can be very meaningful for the participants who might be a little bit reticent about showing their faces because they're used to the anonymity of Zoom these days. So any other questions or comments or anything else to share along those lines of the challenges or how you maybe mitigated them?
I usually I have I tell the people we're gonna make a concert video.
Mm-hmm. That's a cool.
That kind of like takes away, okay. And I also ask people to close their eyes. I said, put on the video, but close your eyes, make sure nobody sees you. And it's a double it's hypnosis and in other words. But yeah, it's just shyness, and it might be maybe people feel ashamed of what they have behind them and stuff like that.
Yeah. Some people might be participating in a place where they're just like, ugh, this background, I look terrible. The background looks terrible. I don't want anyone to see me. I'm still in my pajamas, whatever. So, it's still encouraging people to come as they are, to show up as they are. I follow a really wonderful, influential person that I met at an event a couple years ago. Her name is Kristen Hadid, and she wrote a book called Permission to Screw Up. And she has been hosting she owns a company called Student Made that has transitioned from a cleaning company to now a leadership company, a young leadership company. And she's been hosting these Zoom sessions that are come as you are. She's like, I'm not going to wear makeup today. I'm not going to, put on any fancy clothes today. Come as you are to the Zoom session, put on your own music or listen to my music and get your work done together. But we're not going to talk to each other. We're just going to be here. Our cameras are going to be on, and we're going to encourage each other if we need to. But come as you are, and you're welcome to come however you are dressed, or I assume as long as you're dressed appropriately, it's fine. So there's so many different ways that you can set a tone or an intention for a virtual session that doesn't necessarily mean that you're pointing the finger and showing that these are the rules, but still creating that welcoming environment for people to participate in the way that works best for them in the moment. Okay, so we are going to do an exercise, and this was one that I presented last week. If any of you know Jenny Swerdlow, she did a fantastic training that Mike Deaton also did some tech support and some facilitation on last week for remote facilitation skills. And I got to present this activity, and I thought it went pretty well, but we didn't get a chance to really try it out and ham it up. So I will present it, and we will see if people have a good time doing it, and if you can foresee yourself doing it in a group as a facilitator. So this is it starts off very simply, but it turns into a good brain exercise. And there's a couple different variations that you can use as you feel comfortable. So let's see. I think we'll invite everybody to open their mics, to unmute themselves for this one. As long as there's not too much background noise, we should be able to hear each other play. When I hold up the number 1 and say the number 1, you're going to play 1 time on your instrument. And if you're facilitating to a group of people that don't have instruments, they can use found sounds. You can explain that concept to them. They can clap, they can snap, they can stomp, they can tap on the table, participate in whatever way that they have available to them. All right, so when I say 1, you're going to clap once, play once. When I say the number 2, guess how many times you're going to play? Twice. And probably twice as fast. So I explained that, if you musicians out there want to talk about quarter notes and eighth notes, we can. But if I'm working with kids, I'll just be like, okay, 2, just going to play it twice as fast in that same amount of time. All right, so let's play a bunch of 1s and 2s and see how it goes. Here we go. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and stop. Cool. Okay, so let's try it with mics muted and see how you guys prefer the activity. This is really up to you as the leader or the facilitator, but we'll try it that way, and you can kind of see what the difference is. Some people might be a little bit concerned about that that sound delay, and if you prefer, you can do it muted. But now what I would normally do is ask the students for ideas about how we can use the numbers 1 and 2 to create more patterns. So we then talk about what a pattern is. A pattern is something that repeats itself over and over. We might give a few examples of patterns like ABC, ABC, or a lot of kids like to use shapes, and they'll say circle, square, triangle, circle, square, triangle. So we know what a pattern is. What are some patterns using 1s and 2s? And kids might volunteer, okay, 1, 1, 2, 2. And I'll ask, okay, do you want to lead that pattern? Do you want to hold up your fingers and lead the pattern? If kids are participating in a classroom or in a cafeteria, the way that I interact with the kids is I ask the teachers to stay present and engaged in the session, in the room that they're in, and to call on the kids so that I'm not going like this. Oh, the kid with the red sweatshirt on, that kid with the really cool mask on. They know the kids' names. They can call on them, and I invite them to come up to the camera so that I can talk to them and they can show me what they're going to do. And then if they're going to lead it, they can turn around and lead the group and do it as well. So let's say that we had our guest leader come up and say 1, 1, 2, 2. They're going to lead the group, and they're going to go like this. So let's try it together. We're going to go 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2. Last time. 1, 1, 2, 2, and stop. Awesome. Now, depending on how much time you have, you might ask for some more patterns using 1s and 2s, or you can move on to the next variation. This one's my favorite. So this is opposite day now. When I say the number 1, you're going to play 2. When I say the number 2, you're going to play 1. So flip that little switch in your brain. We'll start out slowly playing a whole bunch of 1s and then a whole bunch of 2s because we don't want to mess anybody up right from the start. We want to build up their confidence and make sure they understand and feel confident in their ability to follow the patterns. But once they get the hang of it, then you can try and kind of play around with it a little bit and mess them up and kind of be playful with it. Okay, so 1 is 2 and 2 is 1. Here we go. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and stop. Awesome. Okay. So I might check in with people at this point and ask them how that felt, and ask them if they can give a word about how they felt right now, or if they want to type it into the chat bar. Does anybody want to offer a reaction via emoji or to tell us a word? Marcus.
I think that would be more challenging if you don't clap. You just make because it's like it's easier because you have to say one, and I mean, it's like we are copying you. If you just say the number, would be more challenging, maybe more fun.
Sure.
That's
And that's a variation you can use. It depends on the population that you're working with. If I'm working with kindergartners or senior citizens, because I do this activity with them a lot because it increases their focus, their memory, their concentration, and things like that, I do make it as easy as possible for them in the beginning. Again, I want to set them up for success. If it looks like people are getting the hang of it and I don't need to keep the beat so much, then I might stop playing and just do those numbers, or I might just let somebody else lead and I'll be the follower at that point. Looks like Marianne typed in simple and fun was her reaction. So cool. Yeah, it starts off very simply and you can keep it as simple as you want, or you can, go do a little bit of creating and making it a little bit more complex if you like. Does anybody want to practice leading? Oh, Michael's got his hand raised. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, basically, it's I wasn't even looking at you. I was just, and it's so easy to miss the beat, and it makes it fun. And it was like, but I just had a good time with it. At the end of things, if people are having a good time at the end of everything, that's what it's about. Is I tell people what I do is not about music. It's about connection, fun, and health. And so I think this is a very good opportunity for people to be able to mess up. And good. Thank you. Beautiful.
Absolutely. And you can, if you yourself mess up, you can be the model. I take the Jim Donovan approach that I learned years ago, which was to smile and keep on going. And I share that with people. If you feel like you made some sort of mistake, whatever that means to you, smile and keep on going. If I said 1 and I played 2 and we were doing the regular way, I'll just smile and be like, whoops, keep on going, to model that it's okay to make that mistake and that we're not here to perform it or to perfect it. Like Michael said, we're here to make those connections with each other and to just feel good about it, to have fun with each other. Would anybody like to lead a pattern using the numbers 1 and 2 to just try it out and see how we follow along? Any volunteers? Lulu, go ahead.
So am I just doing it with everybody? Okay.
We can be muted. Yeah.
So we're gonna do that one with 1 is 2 and 2 is 1. You ready? Here we go. 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1. Woo!
Oh, I love it. Awesome. Yeah, I couldn't follow that at the end, but that's cool. You start out slow, you build people's confidence up, and then once they get confident, you can be like, now let's have some fun and play around with it, and we can laugh with each other along with it. Mike, I love a good brain stretch. Exactly, that's what this one is. Okay, so that you can, do as much of that as you want. You can, if you're focusing on leadership skills with the students, you can invite lots of different participants to come up and be the leader and to come up with their own patterns. Inevitably, somebody always wants to add 3 and 4 into the mix, and so we'll go back to the regular 1 is 1 and 2 is 2, but we'll add 3s and 4s. Those of you that are musicians might want to call them triplets and 16th notes, but again, you're just explaining it in the sense that you want to fit all those beats into the same amount of space as you would playing 1 or 2. And Susan Cornwall says she liked how Lulu increased the speed, which made it harder. Yeah, you can challenge your participants because hopefully you will get a good sense from them of what they can handle, how they are reacting, and what you think is a comfortable way to push them. So then at this point, we can ask for participants, for volunteers, to give us patterns using 1, 2s, 3s, and 4s. So just for an example, I'll lead an example just using 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll see how that sounds to get in the groove. And then if 1 or 2 people want to volunteer to lead the group, you can do that as well. So I'm not going to use my drum here for this though, and I'll try it like Marcus suggested, and I won't play it. I'll just say the numbers and hold up the fingers. All right. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. Cool. Okay, would anybody like to be the leader and make up your own pattern using any of the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s? Marcos, go ahead.
Okay, are you ready? Okay. What about if we do the 5? Instead of clapping, we will just do 1 or 1, 2 or 1, 2, 3. Got it? Okay. Just 3 numbers. So 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3. Excellent. Bravo. Thank you.
Awesome. That's a nice variation too, Marcos, is engaging people in the different windows and using that gallery view again too.
I mean, if we are muted, it's more the visual thing that the sound, you know?
Yeah.
But the challenge was that when I was saying, it was like it took a long for the response, for my view, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like how, when you did it the last time, it was 2 on top of the next one. It was almost 1, 2, you know, very fast. So I wanted to give some time, but then I didn't know really how that worked. I don't know if it was too fast or was okay. So
I
thank
think
you
it
for
was
the
okay. For me, I don't feel like it was too fast. Maybe if we had to do 4 at that tempo, it might be kind of fast. My nervous energy is always such that I play the rhythm so fast that by the time we get to 4, people can't usually play that fast, especially if they're clapping it or if they're trying to play with one hand. You know, if you're playing with 2 hands, you can play twice as fast like that. But yeah, and again, there's lots of room for variations to do whatever feels good for you as a facilitator and whatever you think is going to best serve the population you're working with. Julia had a comment that she appreciated my steady beat at a real heartbeat tempo, something about the way I prepared before the first instruction so she could feel what the tempo was going to be. So maybe I was already pulsing it. And as a facilitator or an educator, and that's another thing that I've learned from really great facilitators like Jim Donovan, Arthur Hall, Christine Stevens. They pulse that rhythm in some kind of way. They might show it in their hand. They might show it in their body. They might show it in a nod, like Arthur does. He's very minimalistic sometimes. But to get people feeling that confidence that, yes, I am prepared for this beat right now. I can feel it in my body as well. And if you don't, that's okay too. Like we said, you can smile and just keep on going. I'm looking at the comments here real quick. Mary said the movement piece is huge. Yeah. And giving the pulse with your moves. Yeah. And that again, that's up to you. However it feels good for you to move. All the facilitator trainings I've been to or the experience I've been to where I get to see other facilitators, everybody has a different way that they move in the space, and you'll find your way that you move on camera as well. It's, you know, it's a similar type of thing. Figure out how best you interact remotely with the people behind the camera, and then do your best to just show that in your body, in your smile, in your body language, and your movements, and all of that stuff. Okay, so those are the main variations, but obviously, as Marcus said, we have some other ideas that we can share. I'm going to, let's give one or two more people an opportunity to lead if they want to, and then we have one more exercise, and then we can do a Q&A and any other comments at the end. So is anybody else that wants to try leading the exercise or have an idea of a variation that you might like to try out?
You've got Michael Smith.
Michael Smith wants to go. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to keep it simple. We're going to do 1 is 1 and 2 is 2. So there we go. Okay, now I'm unmuted. Okay, so 1 is going to be 1 and 2 is going to be 2. So go 1. So go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Good. Did that work out? Just wanted to try it.
Yeah, that works.
Cool.
That was great.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I muted you instead of me because you're right next to me on the screen.
Was it
Sorry
getting?
about that.
My question is, was it getting a pattern?
Yeah.
Yes.
Once you really got going, it was a pattern that was a good tempo to follow along to, even despite the fact that there's that latency. Anybody else? One more person want to try any variation on that before we move on? Want to give it a go? Julia.
So I'll try something. I liked the idea of including this connection thing, and I think the easiest way to do that is with 1. So that's when I say 1, it's to the side. When I say it's 2, it's 2 claps. When I say 3, let's do that key thing. So clap, tap, tap, clap, tap, tap, clap, tap. It's like a horse galloping. But I'll just stick with 1, 2, and 3. And I guess I'll start now. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. I forgot to cue them. Okay, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, finish.
I love that. That's an even bigger brain stretch, like Mike said. So that's a really cool variation to use if you think that people have kind of mastered the first couple variations and you really want to take them into new territory. I messed up a whole bunch of times, but it was fun anyway. It was a lot of fun. So I love that.
If you messed up, was it because my cueing? I mean, I know. Besides the part where my cueing totally fell apart, could my cueing be better?
The queuing, well, yeah, the queuing, I think for 3, you just have to practice it some more times and get some more chance in front of people following along, because I'm not exactly sure how to do 3 in that respect either. I think you just have to make sure that your pulsing is slow enough that you allow people that time to think after they hear 3, 3, 3, 3. Once you got into 2, because you started off a little timid with 1, and once you got into 2, I was like, oh, I feel this beat. Okay, I feel that 2 beat. And then in 3, if you, like you said, the more you practice it, you'll be confident in showing that beat, and then we'll feel confident in following along with you with it. It was fun. Click sounding. Oh, Marcus says to put a click track maybe. Yeah, if you're technically inclined and you wanted and you have a looper or a click track or something, or even if you want to throw some music on in the background and get people kind of moving and grooving to it a little bit, that might be cool too. I'm glad Mary's recording this, because then we can go back and listen to all these really awesome suggestions. that we might not have time to write down or to remember later on. Awesome. Okay, so we're nearing the end. I'm going to share my screen again. I like to end sessions working with kids, particularly the K through 5th, K through 6th grade crowd. So we're talking about even as young as 3-year-olds and up to, I'd say, maybe 11 or 12. I like to do exercise called balloon breathing. Mary has a way of doing this that I learned is a little bit different than mine, so she can show you her balloon breathing after I show my variation. So I ask people to put their hands on the top of their head, because what we're doing is we've created this energy, this whole big energy that all the kids have interacting with each other, leading the group, having fun. They're going to go back to class, or they're going to go do another activity, or they're going to go eat dinner with their family or whatever. We want to show them that this is a way of managing that energy, harnessing it back up again, and not just letting them fly off the handle for the next activity. So it brings the energy back down and allows them to check in with themselves and think about how they're feeling. All right, so we put the hands on the head. We're going to take 3 deep breaths and pretend we're blowing up a giant balloon. So you're going to make your balloon bigger each time you breathe in. So here we go. And you can make the noise too. We're all muted, but you can pretend like you're making a balloon noise. So we go 1, 2, 3. Now let all the air out of your balloon deflate. And inevitably we get a couple giggles at that. And kids gonna get silly with it. We're gonna try it again, and this time you're gonna pop your balloon. So if you have anything stressing you out, worrying you, anything that you're feeling fear or anxiety about, we're gonna let it all go. We're just gonna let it all burst when we burst our balloons. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and pop. Awesome. And at this point, we might check in with the kids. I like to end my sessions by asking the kids 3 questions. Mary, why don't you go ahead and share your balloon exercise, and then I'll ask my 3 questions to all of the group here, if you want to share it, Mary.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I want to make sure. Okay. Great. So for me, when Alisha said that, I went, oh, I love that. It's such a beautiful, it's another version that I'm totally going to use, Alisha. I love it. So for me, often at the beginning, I'm wanting to cross the midline, particularly with really young children. So, I'm looking for up and cross and forward and back. And I'm also really wanting them to warm their voices up. And this can happen at the beginning or the end. And I want them to sing a tone as long as I can get them to hold it. So I'm thinking, how am I going to accomplish all that? Because I know for 7 minutes is going to calm the system. So I was playing around with preschoolers. We were working with mindfulness. And so we developed the balloon stretch. And the balloon stretch starts with prepare. So I have my hands on my legs. So I would start, we say prepare. And then we fill in, we take our hands here and we go, what color balloon are we? And so I'll look and say, okay, Michael Smith, you're wearing blue. We're going to be a blue balloon. All right. And I'll usually ask them. And so we're going to fill our blue balloon up. Ready? As much as you can. Here we go. And even more. As much air as you could put in. And now we're going to blow it out really small and lean forward. As far as forward as you can go. And usually they're sitting on the floor, and I say you have to glue your bottom to the floor as far as they can go. When we get to the end, all the air is out, and we take another breath and we sing blue, the color. Blue. And I hold it an uncomfortably long amount of time, as long as I can get them to do it. Blue. And then I'll move them up and slide. So they also get to siren through. So it gets so many things accomplished. It's great at the beginning or the end. And we'll do different colors with different vowels. And what I'm really looking for is how long can I keep them there in that stretch, holding that sound and really toning into their body and getting that wonderful stretch. So I love both of these versions. Thanks, Alisha, for asking. That's one of my faves. Gonna remove my spotlight. Let's see. Oh, good. You did already. Okay, super. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't. I didn't.
Mike did.
Maybe Mike did.
Yes, it's the team.
Okay, so the way that I like to end the sessions with younger kids, oh, by the way, if you're working with kids that are going to think the balloon breath is lame, another way of doing it is just to do some sort of breath check-in exercise that maybe you know and that works for you, that you've done for adults, or Jim Donovan has one that he does. It's a square breathing. So you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, any kind of breathing that's going to bring that energy down and allow people to check in with themselves that works for you. When I'm working with little kids, though, at the end I like to say, raise your hand if you had fun today, or we might do a drum roll if you had fun today. We'll see who raises their hand. So I'm asking all of you, raise your hand if you had fun today. Raise your hand if you learned something today. And raise your hand if you want to share one thing that you learned today. So anybody have a takeaway that they want to share? And then, of course, nobody wants to share a takeaway. The kids always do that, too. Michael, I think, has one.
The 1, 2, 3, those were great.
Yeah, okay, so Michael's takeaway was that new activity. Awesome. Marianne?
Yeah, I think it was the 1, 2, 3, 4 was a really great way to internalize a pattern, like to embody the pattern. Even if you are doing it, you really have to regulate in between the 1, the 2, the 1, the 3, and also the other one who is doing it. And the back and forth, and that is becoming a kind of sequencing, like a dance. I think it's a very nice way to really feel what it is. It was super fun.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Let's do one more takeaway. Anybody else want to share one thing that they learned that they really liked today?
I like them all.
Jorg, I think. Go ahead, Jorg.
Yes, Jörg.
Jorg, sorry.
No problem. I like the idea to form the whole session that even on this video part, the people feel very well.
The video part? You mean like making it
yes.
visual?
Yes, because when I'm doing an outbreak, I'm trying to prepare the room, everybody feels well, and that it also works with video.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying to follow with a little bit of feedback going on there, but preparing the room just like you would for an in-person, and making sure that it is a visual experience because it's a different setting than we're used to. Okay, so the last thing I realized that I didn't get to share was I'm going to do a quick screen share of the 2 documents that I mentioned in our description, and then at the end I'll share a way that you can contact me if you would like me to email you editable versions of those documents. So the first thing is a sample agreement for virtual services. And this is just something that I came up with last year at the beginning of the pandemic for some of the gigs that we were starting to get. So pretty standard stuff at the beginning. You can fill in obviously all of your information in the header and footer. What I really like here is my husband used to work as a technical patent drafter, and so he's very good at crafting technical language around things, and so I got his input on this, and he said, define to you what virtual services mean. So any online program or workshop, client might access Zoom, GoToMeeting, Skype, Facebook Rooms, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. You just define, and if this is, if this section here is different for you, then define what that virtual offering is for you so that people know what they're signing up for. This here is pretty much the same as what I would do on another contract. You just outline everything here about the event. And then you say what you're going to provide. You say what the client will provide based on the conversations that you had with them. I like to include a Zoom access link, but the client may want to set this up. For example, the libraries would set it up and email it to all the people registered for their events. And then there's a disclaimer. What am I responsible for and what am I not responsible for? I mean, ideally, if anything happens, you're probably going to want to try and reschedule with the client because you want happy people having a wonderful experience. But, these are just the types of things that I might not be responsible for. And if something like this happens, then it's up to my discretion about how do we handle it. Do we redo the session? You know, do they want to just cut their losses and go? You know, you want to make it as positive an experience as possible, but we do understand that technical things can happen. So do your best to mitigate the things on your end. Make sure that the people know what they're expected to do. And we'll go into that with the tips for a successful event. All right, payment and terms, that's all pretty much up to you and based on my other in-person contracts. Okay, tips for a successful event. Let me go find that real quick. And I keep adding to this, so you may want to add to it. If you have this, you know, version and you want to edit it, I keep adding stuff to it. I have so many points now because of how I've figured out that what has been going on with people. Make sure that everybody has the login at least X amount of hours prior to this start time of the session so that you're not logging in and waiting. Let people know that we're going to be using found sounds, or if that's not an option based on the population, here's some. We're going to use hand percussion, and here's what the body percussion. Here's what that means. Encourage all people to use their video camera if they can. And figure out a nice way to say that. The program will be most impactful when all participants can see one another, blah, blah, blah. Please ensure your staff members stay present and engaged. If we're talking about a kids program or a population that there's like staff members that are seeing it, they can call on people. They can make sure that people have what they need and make sure that they're following along, etc. And then talk about muting and unmuting and things like that. I like to get people to sign this to make sure that they have read it. Inevitably, whoever is actually delivering the program with me, whoever the client is, the client signs it, and then the manager didn't get relayed to the manager. And so all of this might be for naught, but this is the best way to try to set yourself up for success. Now, if you are interested in having me email that to you, let me go back to the slideshow. We would love for you to opt into our email list. We have a monthly email list. We only email you once a month. We will not share your information with anybody. But if you want to text the word drum to 33777, this is what I include. I will send people 6 simple tips to rhythmify their lives starting today. I can email that to you if you opt in. Most of you on the call probably already know how to rhythmify your life. But if you would like me to email you those documents that I just shared, then go ahead and text drum to 33777. Make sure you follow the prompts to enter your email address, so I have an actual email address, and I will send you those editable Word versions of those documents. Does anybody have...
Is that from my phone number from the United States?
That's like... So the way that works is, I don't know if it only works in the United States or not. If it doesn't work for you to text this short source code, basically 33777 is a long code, short code. I don't know. It's a way to opt in. You can, let me type in my email address into the chat bar, and you can just simply email me if you prefer to do it that way. If you're somewhere and this doesn't work in the United States, send me an email and be like, hey, I would love those documents. And by the way, if you want to join our email list, go ahead and let me know that as well. So that's my email address, or you can text drum to 33777 if that's easier for you, and we'll send you those. I know we've gone over time. If anybody has any pressing questions or comments that they want to share with the group, that's great. Otherwise, if you have something you want to connect with me on later, you can always email me and we can talk later on. So anybody else?
Alisha, before we do that, I'm going to jump in, and if you have a big takeaway, we had a few, but write that in the chat bar. It's always nice for our presenters to know what your biggest takeaway is from the session. And so pop that in while there's a few last questions, and then we'll give our final. We have a couple things we have to do too, and I have another group coming on at 5:15, so I have to make sure we're off the call. Lulu.
I just tried to message you, Alisha, and it doesn't work from Canada. Well, I tried. It was in red. So
okay.
I think it's you need more numbers, or I need.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and just send the email then. If you're outside of the U.S., these codes might not work. I've never had an opportunity where I've had to try to see if people could opt in from a different country, because most of the time I'm in person asking people to sign up for our email list. So thank you for letting me know that. That's helpful, because then I'll find alternate ways of people contacting us.
Super. All right. I think, Alisha, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to just go over our final things. And then if we have a few more questions, if that's all right with you, then at least I know we've covered our last part. We have, Mike, are you going to put Alicia's information in the website or in her website? Alisha, that was amazing. Thank you. And very quickly, this is by donations, Music Alive. We would love if you support us in keeping this venture alive and growing. And so Mike will put in the chat bar just the donation page on the Music for People website. They support this program, and we're so grateful to be able to use their link, etc., each week and to grow this. And coming up next week is Carolyn Cobell, and she is amazing. She is on in Simon Faulkner's Drum Circles for Specific Populations book. And she is an amazing musician. I've had a couple conversations with her in preparing to bring her in. She works, as my daughter does, as a hospice nurse, and she is doing some amazing work. And so I highly recommend you join us if you're interested in that grouping, and also just her beautiful spirit. It's called Honoring the Passage, Music Therapy at the End of Life. So she is next week. Mike and I are doing a training on May 15th, Intro to Leading Music and Wellness programs online and in person. And that will be from 3 to 5:30. Mike, anything you want to add about that? We're excited to run this a second time.
Yes, quickly, just that, we're going to share a ton of activities with you. You're going to have time to practice them, and you're going to get resources like an equipment list of what I recommend most, and you're going to get backing tracks you can use for any number of online rhythmic activities. And so we're teaching you how the Zoom technology and how to do the activities, but I think everything we teach will apply both online or to events you can do in person.
And a lot of time to practice, too. Mike, you're on mute.
How much is the investment for that program you're doing?
Mike? How much is it? $45?
Early bird pricing, I believe, is still at $40. I just added a few more extra days onto that. I just put the link there. So you got a few more days of early bird pricing.
Super. Thanks for asking, Mike. Okay, I think that's everything, and it's 5:07. If there's any other questions for Alisha while we've got her here, now's the time to ask.
I'd like to just give her a big hand, and just feel free to throw the mics open for just like 10 seconds here.
Alisha, that was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing so much amazing information. I am so grateful to you. Anybody else?
Thank you.
The documents and all of it. It's huge. Thank you.
So generous.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yay! You can throw open the mics and say goodbye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. That was fantastic, Marion.
Yeah.
And Alisha, you're
So
great.
beautiful. Hope to see you
Thank
next
you.
week. Bye.
Next week.
Here.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
There they go off into the ozone. How quickly they come and go in these lands.
That's the
So it's
interesting
like
thing
Alice in
with our work
Wonderland.
and the events we lead. There's so much love and fun and energy